What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I got some new news for you concerning Danny Garcia and Brandon Rios. These guys have agreed to step into the ring. The fight is set. It's going to be on the 17th of February, and it's going to be on Showtime. And it looks like a real good fight. I just got through watching the press conference between the two. They both had their ins and outs, and inside and outside the ring. Danny more or less inside the ring. You know what I mean? And I look at this fight being a stepping stone for each fighter. Of course, Danny Garcia would have the jacket. Of this being or considered a cherry pick. A lot of people might consider that a cherry pick, and for me, I think his intentions is to get back on the horse because it's not really, I don't think necessarily Danny, you could call him a cherry picker, but I'm going to tell you exactly what he does. He had his last loss, okay, or his last setback. And when I explain by a setback, he got beat by Keith Thurman. His setback was Mauricio Herrera. And he went to Puerto Rico to try to, to give the fans a good fight, and he ended up being in a fight. And a lot of people thought he lost. I thought it was real close, but it was still a tough fight. And before that, he fought Zab Judah and beat Zab Judah. Then he beat Lucas Matisse. Before that, then the Morales fights and stuff like that. So he was on a roll, but you see he was inclining, But then at the Mauricio Herrera fight, he just kind of stopped his progress altogether. Then when he went backwards. He fought Rod Salka, and he got a lot of flack for doing that. But in this case, he's doing the same thing. So the pattern's continuing. He got beat by Thurman. Now he feels he needs a tune-up fight, and that's what he's going for Brandon Rios. And, and it's kind of like it's not a Rod Salka. Brandon Rios, he has his own, following, and he's a tough guy. But I know they picked that particular fighter because of Brandon Rios' style, because he comes forward, and he throws a lot of chopping punches to the body, and he's good at uppercuts. So it should be a good fight to watch. But it's basically up to Brandon Rios what Brandon Rios steps into the ring. If he steps in out of shape, missing weight, he's not going to really, it's not going to be good for him. Because his performance when he fought Timothy Bradley. And you got to think about Rios' record. Rios has been in there with guys like Timothy Bradley. But in the fight, with the Bradley fight, he was stopped the first time he's ever been stopped. A guy that's regarded as, he considers himself he loves to get hit. He says boxing is better than having sex. It's like busting a nut. Literally, this is what this guy said. So, he likes to mix it up in there. He loves what he does. But when he got hit with that body shot, and that's coming from a fighter like Timothy Bradley, this is not considered a power puncher. That let me know that he wasn't in the shape that he needs to be. So Brandon Rios is his own worst enemy. Of course, he had the Pacquiao fight, so he had his claim to fame. But no one thought he was going to beat Manny Pacquiao, but Manny Pacquiao used Brandon Rios also as a tune-up fight after being knocked out by Marquez, because he was the first. That was the first fight back for Manny Pacquiao. So in Macau, China. So you look at it, but it's basically understand. Danny Garcia is not Manny Pacquiao. Okay, so I don't think he'd have to worry about that type of commitment intention, you know what I mean? But it is up to him to, step into the ring and be in shape, and the better shape he is, the more he can pull off an upset, because Danny Garcia's camp picked Brandon Rios specifically for that, you know what I mean? But it's up to Brandon Rios, because Brandon Rios is a good fighter. I think he leaves, defense not so much, but he does have punching power. He has a puncher's chance. He has a good chin. But Garcia can bang too. The question would be, can Brandon Rios take that left hook? If he can take that left hook, I know if he can take it upstairs, the other question is, can he take it to the body? Okay, so because Danny Garcia, I feel he hits harder than someone like Timothy Bradley. Even Timothy Bradley is regarded a better fighter than Danny Garcia, but Danny Garcia does have those hammers like his dad says. He has hammers in his hands. So if he can hit him to the body, and he can take those body punching, and that comes down to conditioning, you know, and you know, and I hope Roberto can get Brandon Rios in good shape. You know what I mean? Because I think, you know, I see him doing videos with Ellie Setback and stuff like that, and you know, they're just really sitting around the gym. They're like gym rats, but what do they utilize when they're in the gym? That's what I think about. You know what I mean? I see these guys doing a lot of videos, and they're just kind of like, yeah, you know, hitting the bag and all that stuff. But yeah, you know, Brandon Rios, he's a good fan favorite. I thought he was gone. I thought he was done after the Timothy Bradley fight. You know, but you got to look at it. It's not the fact that you got beat by Timothy Bradley. It was the fact that you got beat the way you got beat. The way you got hit by a body punch by a guy that don't punch. He's considered a pillow puncher. So, you know what I mean? I thought he was done after that. So he did pick himself back up. It was an emotional night for him that night. I felt bad for him because I know Brandon Rios, you know, a guy that considers boxing better than sex and busting nuts and stuff like that, and use that analogy with sex. I know he loves what he does. So, you know, it was a shame to see him, you know, emotional and actually considering quitting at that time after that fight. So, you know, I would like to see him go in there and give Danny Garcia a good fight. But like I say, Danny Garcia will have to prove that he's a level above Brandon Rios, because I know Garcia's camp, you know, I think they haven't said it, but, you know, it's one of those things that's pretty much observed and assumed without even really being said that he's a level above Brandon Rios. You know what I mean? Brandon Rios is this guy that's just getting off the couch after one fight. He only had one fight back, you know, before sitting on the couch for a minute. And then he gets beat by Timothy Bradley, but then he takes a long layoff before that fight. So you really, you know, again, it depends on what shape Brandon Rios is in. You know, they could market in Mexico versus, you know, Puerto Rico rivalry, because, you know, Rios is Mexican and, you know, Danny Garcia is Puerto Rican, but, you know, they're both Americans. You know what I mean? So I look forward to the fight. But I think Danny Garcia, if he just uses his boxing fundamentals, he can get him out of there, because, see, Danny Garcia can box too. So, you know, I think this fight will be similar to the Gotti Ward fight. And I'm going to say that because if you can remember, if you guys see that, I'll probably send a link of, you know, of a little bit of that fight to give you a kind of idea, if you have, for you, those who haven't seen it. Gatti was more of a boxer, and he stayed out of the pocket until he started getting hit. Then he started exchanging. You know, that's when Mickey Ward actually started, you know, utilizing and could get inside, you know, because he started trading with Ward. And that's all Ward wanted, to get inside just to land that left hook to the body, his signature punch. And he did it, you know. So it's up to Brandon Rios, really. And it's up to, you know, Danny Garcia also, though. Danny Garcia has to be composed, you know what I mean? I think another fight like that, Lucas Matisse and Ruslan Provodnikov, you know, those are two hard-hitting, tough guys, you know what I mean? And I seen the punches that Provodnikov took from Matisse, but Matisse stayed composed. But you can tell when he got out of character, when he got hit with things, that's when he would get hurt, because he would start to trade. You know what I mean? He would turn that machine, you know, he calls La Máquina, right? He puts that machine in high gear, and he got caught with something every time in that fight that made him, let me go back to boxing now. That's what Danny Garcia needs to do if he wants to win this fight. So I look forward to the fight. You know, I know it's a little lengthy, guys, but, you know, this is me telling it how it is. But you guys leave your concerns, comments below, and you guys tell me what you think about these guys between Brandon Rios and Danny Garcia. And you guys been counterpunched. Peace.